Okay, so this is the topic for the day, and we thank you to Sam Buckley for her wonderful work in assisting me to prepare this presentation. So can you all see the screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, fabulous. So I just felt to do this, and it came out of nowhere. This whole thing about, negative energies, just a little bit of introduction. It's kind of interesting how we got 13 people exactly, because 13 is a very occultic number. So it's also very interesting how many people are here, how many are not here. And I always find that interesting when it comes to something like this and how much we resonate with stuff and whatever else. So it's, hang on, just my Zoom is doing weird things. Okay, I think I fixed it now. Yep. So we get this kind of stuff come our way, and yeah. So it's about staying clean and protected. Just type in the chat if you have genuinely noticed just the kind of darkness and what I call that fairly heavy energy that's going on around people generally have noticed things at night. Like, who has genuinely noticed that and picked up stuff happening and can just feel stuff going on? My guess is some of you more sensitive can, and like just picking up negative energies and a greater increase and just a greater push. Yeah, because there's no doubt. So what I'm going to be showing today is going to be interesting. Probably for some it'll make sense, for some it'll be slightly controversial. But yeah, I really just wanted to get into what I see as this is about sharing what I call the ugly truth about all this stuff and how this really, really works, not how we'd like it to work, and in a way dispelling some of the illusions of what I call and what lies ahead of us. So who would like to start with the Lord's Prayer so we can just get this underway? So who would like to?
I'm happy to do it, Warren.
That'd be great, thank you.
O thou from whom the breath of life comes, who fills all realms of sound, light, and vibration, may your light be experienced in my utmost holiest. Your heavenly domain approaches. Let your will come true in the universe, all that vibrates, just as on earth that is material and dead. Give us wisdom, understanding, assistance, and discernment for our daily need. And detach the fetters of faults and karma that bind us as we let go of the guilt of others. Let us not be lost in superficial things like materialism and common temptations, but let us be free from all of those things which keep us from our true purpose. From you comes the all-working will, the lively strength to act, the song that beautifies all and renews itself from age to age, sealed in trust, faith, and truth, and I confirm with my entire being. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Christine. So, okay, always good to start with the Lord's Prayer and invite the presence of Christ and the blood of Christ, especially with the topic we're going to be covering today. I'm just going to get a sense and just of us surrounded by a pyramid and just allowing the blood of Christ and the power of the Holy Spirit and the counsels and the orders of Enoch and Melchizedek just to surround us and remove any negative energies or false spirit guides, demons, dark presences of any kind that do not align with what's going on, and bind them and make them ineffective. Oh, okay. That's definitely helped a little bit. Okay, so the day's word. So I decided to do it, and it was interesting. I was like, wow, it couldn't have been more accurate when I did the I Ching reading. So I did the I Ching reading, and this is what that reading basically shows when you do it. So this was my I Ching reading. So hexagram 1, which is the most primal, powerful, masculine, completely yang hexagram. So the main hexagram is a completely yang. This one here is almost entirely yang with a little bit of yin. So what that tells you straight away is that it's about taking action, taking steps. This is not the time to be passive right now. So my guess is that everything would be almost, the energy is very heavy. It's almost saying just kind of, you know, just not do too much. And it's just, you know, it's a real deception, as Grace was saying before. So sometimes you get told to just back off and be in your feminine. What this is saying is right now is a time to be advancing and really advancing. That's what this one means, you know, the one going to the 10. So this is what it says in the various interpretation. So creativity leads to outstanding success by persevering. So being creative, in other words, taking action in your creative energy, primal spirit power that creates and destroys the action of force and persistence. So this is a time to be taking actions, but as you'll be seeing from the secondary hexagram, this one says to be doing it step by step. So this isn't about rushing out and doing all kinds of stuff, but this is about consistency and progressive constant action right now. This is a time to be doing it. Finances, health, spiritual warfare, whatever. So consistency, you know, basically powerful creative action, but with consistency and perseverance and step by step. That's basically what this is saying. So it's a really good hexagram to be basically doing that. So nerving to ceaseless activity, in other words, constantly doing action. So the changing line, which is the most important. So this is the most important of the whole reading. So all days to be creatively accurate, at night is beset with cares, danger, powerful but does not threaten. Now that is incredible considering what I was going to be speaking on today. So the day in a way represents what we call, there's our day and our physical day and night, but spiritually our day is when things are going well in our life, in our world, in our society. Night is when there can be danger and darkness. And there's no doubt that our world is in a time of darkness or nightfall right now. We're definitely in a nightfall and we're definitely entering into the deeper night. So it's powerful but does not threaten. In other words, this is telling us that provided that we are taking the right steps, and as it says here, watching out for unconscious elements in your psyche, you're going to be fine. So that's part of what today is. The dark arts, as I'll be sharing today, they really can't do anything with you other than where you let them, because of unconscious elements in your psyche, your shadow, which you refuse to deal with. It's really that simple. But in practice, people tend to not want to deal with this stuff. So what this is really saying is take action, keep moving forward. When things come up, deal with it. That's what I'd be saying, dealing with it. So new ideas can bring opposition, but overall, the power to succeed is rising, although tread carefully, which jumped out at me. So this is about not rushing. So it's saying here, don't rush is another one which jumps out at me. Have the capacity, you know, to ensure that you have the capacity. In other words, do things in stages, do things step by step, but this is a time to be taking consistent action. So that's why it's interesting there's only a small number. So really the people who've attracted today are those who willing to do the hard work, because showing up is more important than growing up than almost anything else. Because if you keep showing up, you can get results. So it's about being vigilant right now. And this is also saying this. So it's definitely not a time to kind of be frivolous, not a time to be kind of assuming everything will just work out perfectly. There's definitely challenges going on right now, but overall, this is positive. Very, very positive. So this is a positive hexagram. So, and it's interesting then that the hexagram 10, the secondary one, says treading on a tail of a tiger which does not bite him. So what this is saying is that this is a time when weakness is going to get away with treading on strength. That's what basically the traditional interpretation. So in other words, you're going to get away with some risky things. If you're doing things systematically in stages, you're going to get away with it. That's what it's saying. So powerful action, but with consistency and perseverance, step by step, encouragement to move forward, advance aggressively, but with caution, wisdom, step by step. Bring out creativity, primal masculine energy. Don't be afraid to attack, but do it with wisdom, caution, and preparation. And watch out for unconscious elements in your psyche, which render you vulnerable to attack. Who can relate to that out of interest, or who's got some useful stuff out of that one? So this is saying for your financial life, your spiritual life, I cannot encourage, say enough, you know. We're heading in towards a great reset, an economic meltdown, a societal meltdown. This is going to affect you financially, which can affect you unconsciously if you're not taking the action. If you're taking the right action, you're being persistent, you're going to not only get away with it, but you're going to have progress and success. That's what this hexagram is saying. So a few people this resonates with, that's great. Awesome. So yes, perfect. Okay, on that note, Steve Plummer talked a wonderful message last time about this. It was a good preparation for today. So this is really an introduction to some of this. For some of this will be going back to basics, but it's kind of like, in a way, as you tend to come back to revisit a topic, each time you see new levels than you saw previously. And over the last 6 months, my journey into more of my shadow self has probably helped me come to an even deeper understanding of this topic than I did last time I taught this. So this is about clearing what I call the effects of black witchcraft. And keep in mind, like anything, there's good witchcraft, which is good energy and manipulation or using of energies that work for the greater good. When we do like stuff with Roman graces and actually transforming the energy, we are doing a form of witchcraft. You know, we're doing a form of dowsing, we're doing a form of energy, we're doing a form of clearing, but we're doing it with a higher intention of love and for the greater good of our society. This is when you're talking about manipulative, self-serving use of energy. And this is how black witchcraft or the dark arts work. They focus on your weaknesses, they focus on shadows, and they focus on things like that. So on the surface, the world is slowly returning to normal. You know, we're going, yay, woohoo. Jab and mask mandates are ending, so we can go back to the pub. We can go back to Vegas and get laid with our favorite stripper. You know, we can go to Amsterdam to the red light district. We can fly and, you know, become an Instagram model again and go to Hawaii and get bikini and wear our bikinis and start making millions of dollars again for doing fuck all. So, yay, it's all ending. Everything's back to normal. And very shortly, the government's going to get up and apologize to the whole world for being so nasty and doing horrible, nasty things to their people. So that's no doubt what's going to be coming next. And it's suddenly the governments are changing, and suddenly Mark McGowan in the West Australia goes, oh my gosh, you know, I think we should open up again and get with the rest of the world pattern. I feel really bad for being so naughty. Let's just let everyone get back to their normal lives. As we know, it's probably not quite true. Borders and businesses are opening up, but people are starting to travel again. In fact, there's like record bookings, you know, flights to UK are booked up until October, November. But I think it's fair to say everything is not what it seems. And I'm speaking to the converted here, but you can, for those of you who are spiritually sensitive, the surface may be turning back to normal, but the inner fabric of our society has been absolutely ripped, you know? And this sinister dark threat looms over the whole fabric. And it's like the inner fabric and the sensitive soul, you know, a ferric layer of our Western society has been ripped quite heavily, so to speak. And I think it's safe to say we're anything but back to normal. So it's psychiatrists and psychologists are booked out like you wouldn't believe. I was speaking to my Pilates instructor who said she was just going to catch up with her psychologist just to work through some stuff. Hadn't seen him for a while, and he said, look, I'm booked up until some crazy month. If it's really an emergency, I can get you in, but otherwise, yeah. He said, I'm booked up, and everyone basically is right now. So mental health crises and lifelines. I know that the whole COVID lockdowns they're seeing in the UK, I think caused 3,000 diabetic deaths, they estimated, because they couldn't get access to proper treatment and proper things like that. Numerous suicides and mental health as a result of the whole thing. People are deeply traumatized. You can see it when you walk around and see the fabric and the layer. That's when you know that dark occultic work is happened, because part of how the dark arts work is to get people in a state of trauma, because that is basically the state where you can get what's called programmed, trained, and hypnotized. So overall, people deeply traumatized, economies and supply chains are falling apart, as we're seeing. Prices are soaring, and so much more. So The change in Western society and to our way of life is quite palpable. It's certainly unlikely we'll ever be the same in the West again. Now, in saying that, this is not a doom and a gloom. It's just kind of unveiling the shadow and realizing that it will get that when I say it won't be the same again, sometimes, as you know, the way you heal an injured muscle sometimes or injured part of your body is you got to kind of break up the damaged scar tissue, break up the muscle, break it up, and that will hurt even more. Allow it to heal again, but shape it to heal properly. So I personally believe in the longer term, we're going to come out a lot better than we are now. Just in the shorter term, while the chaos and the breaking down is happening, it's going to be more challenging. But yeah, I agree with Suzanne's comment. Thank goodness it won't go back to how it was before, because I can't say the way it was before particularly inspired me to want to be around the Western society. So the overall exciting thing is that we've all been seeking an ascension and a shift and change of consciousness for a long time. And I believe that usually it's like they were all waiting for a Messiah. But of course, what actually ended up happening was a guy turned up and got crucified, which no one thought would happen. But of course, the result was a long time later on, years later, we can all see what happened and is in that situation. So generally, the Messiah, the result you're looking for never quite comes in the package or the way you expect it. And if it did, your head would get in the way. So personally, I believe everything is going right according to plan right now. I think that everything is happening to break up the fabric of our society. And not many are going to get through it, but those who do get through it are going to come out, and we're going to be a part of an overall better world and a lot more awakened, more humbled world. So it's unlikely we'll ever be the same in the West again. No doubt we can see this spreading over society as a whole. Yes, it's all partly due to the trauma and the impact of the last few years. However, there's also been a bit of an increase in this stuff as well. And it's always been one of my challenges, if I'm honest with everyone on this, in that at what level is there too much attention to this that we actually make it worse? And to what level is it ignoring it? And my conclusion was the most important is mindfulness, awareness in what you're dealing with, and being aware when it's coming. That's the main thing. And being aware of what's going on and being aware of weaknesses, so to speak. So people in the West, I like what Alberto Bololdo, he's one of Shazar, who some of you know Shazar, her mentor, who taught her a lot of her shamanic arts. And I love his stuff, you know. In fact, before she learnt with him, she tended to have this belief that the dark arts was kind of not real and people were just focusing on that and the light was what mattered and that kind of stuff. And although she said there was a bit of the dark, by and large, she wasn't as aware of it as she is now since working with Alberto Bololdo. And one of the things he says is that people underestimate the power. And in fact, he said, his first mentor once said to him, when he kind of belittled the dark arts and said, oh, it's got no power over me, I work in the light. The guy laughed. He goes, is that so? He goes, I'll make you a bet. He goes, I've got a friend who's a guy I know is a dark arts sorcerer. He said, I am going, he goes, I'll even tell you the night he's going to put a curse on you. And I guarantee you that and I'll bet you anything that that curse will overpower you. And of course, he just laughed and said, there's no way. And to cut a long story short, he took on the challenge thinking, yep, I'll just use all my light working stuff, which he did, to protect himself. And then the Thursday night came and nothing happened. And of course, he laughed and laughed and thought, ha ha, I won. And then the next day, 24 hours later, on the Friday night, he got hit and he literally said he couldn't move his body. He was in agony. His head was just locked down. He just wanted to die. And he was like that for about 24 hours till he finally rang his friend and said, what's happened? And he said, I'll get my friend to lift the curse. And he did. And the guy went back to normal. But he said, I thought you said it was Thursday. He goes, yeah, he got his days mixed up. And he said that was a humbling lesson for him. So then, of course, he said, well, can you protect yourself? He goes, yes, you can. But he said to him, you can never underestimate the power of the dark arts, was what he said to him. He said, yes, you can protect yourself. Yes, you can stop it getting near you. Yes, as a light worker, you can overcome it, but do not underestimate it. He said, any form of arrogance, any form of ignorance will cost you, because these guys are committed, these guys are serious, and they take their work seriously. So that's really the message today. And I just say to people who said, oh, and I just always believe the light will prevail. I just said, you fuckwit, just look around you. tell me who's winning right now by what you're seeing happening in society. I said, just look around you. I said, you got to go by results. It's like me being in a basketball team in the major playoffs, and every year we get knocked out, and I just keep saying, oh no, we're the best team. You watch, we'll win the championship. A bit like over here in the West, if you're a Fremantle Dockers supporter, for example, you know the chances of you winning the premiership, are very similar to suddenly having an appearance of Butter and Gandhi tomorrow in the middle of the Hay Street Mall, and that's being a bit facetious, but you know what I mean. There's so much ignorance when it comes to this kind of topic, and you just have to look around you and what's going on in society. And having a very honest, very direct, very grief-stricken, heart-filled facing of the truth is better than a delusionary life. In the Matrix, when Neo found the truth, it was distressing for him. Most people don't want to face the truth of where society is at because it's distressing to them. And I do think the one positive of what's going on right now is I think people are starting to see the distress of how bad things really are now. I'm noticing now most people, you can actually have relatively good conversations. It says, yeah, we're in a pretty bad way. Things are not good. And people are starting to see that. I mean, most people don't know what to do about it, but they're at least starting to see the truth of what's going on. And you do have to get to that point when you have no more hope and in grief and distress, often for a change. But the main thing to realize is that right now at this time, there's no question that the dark arts is winning overall. We have enough light workers to change the world many times over, but it hasn't happened. And I truly believe that one reason, it's not the only reason, is because we just underestimate the power of the dark arts, and we just fall into what I call the Hollywood illusions. That that the prince will come and kiss the princess and bring her out. The white knight will turn up, that suddenly Jesus will appear and everything will turn good. Shit like that. Rather than just facing the truth and realizing that everything from the teachings of Christ, the teachings of Enoch, to the teachings of the Hindus, they all talked about the importance of effective masculine action. All of them. Martin Luther King. Every Jehovah's Witness, every single religion and spiritual work that I've read, the Tao, they generally still teach about the importance of action. In the Tao, for example, although it seems to be more passive on the surface, mindfulness is anything but passive. The Tao is about staying mentally focused, letting go, and staying inward calmness. And that's even more challenging than outward calmness, to have inward calmness. So every religion talks about this, the importance of effective action and stepping forward and doing things, and actually taking action in your spiritual life, showing up, getting involved in a community like this or whatever you're comfortable. Continue to show up, and like Sharon says, Sharon is why she keeps seeing William. And I agree, you're being smart, Sharon. Light workers are easy to convince to be defensive, and that, I believe, is one of the greatest tricks of the dark arts, is to get people defensive and get people by and large passive. Like, just let go and God will take care of you. And while the light workers are sitting there waiting for God to come and take care of them, they keep quietly doing their sacrifices, doing their curses and hexes, and continue and keep showing up and showing up and showing up, knowing that if they don't show up, they're not going to be very popular with their bosses, but they keep showing up. And that's one thing the dark arts do very well. They keep showing up, they keep mastering their craft, they keep getting better at it, and they keep learning it. And meanwhile, most light workers, it doesn't suit them to come to a webinar or because, and obviously you guys, I'm not saying that I'm saying this because you guys are here, so it's showing you're not doing that. But they won't turn up because they just feel like, just sleeping in, when they know it's important. They won't go to their Pilates or yoga or gym because they just feel, can't be bothered. They start a project, halfway through they get bored and they leave it and they go and do another one. They sit there and do meditation and sit there singing and playing sound healing, which is all important to do that as well for healing. And that's all they do, and say, we'll just wait for the presence of God to change and remove these nasty government mandates, And meanwhile, while they do that, the dark arts laugh and things continue. We have seen, some of the people on this webinar today, you've worked hard with us to really attempt to shift the energy, and I think we made some inroads, but by and large, a lot of the things in the outward, it's been limited effect because of where things have been at. So we really do underestimate the power of the dark arts. And please don't get me wrong. I totally believe, in fact, let's just believe, I know light overcomes darkness. I've done it in my own life. However, the sorcerers who practice the dark arts are very committed, and they're more trained and committed to their cause. That's just the reality. So even though a good, really focused, committed light worker will pretty much put a dark art sorcerer, they will obliterate them in seconds. The reality is any ego, any unresolved shadows, any unresolved stuff, the dark art sorcerer will see it in you and will use it against you. And so William knows this very well. You know, many case studies I learned when I was studying this. I mentioned the one about Alberto Villoldo's one. I can, you know, I remember, yeah, I love self-doubt. I can remember, yeah, this guy, Brian Shaw, who taught us about this, and just how, yeah, like they were talking about how I was talking about this at a seminar with him. And I had a guy come up afterwards and said, yeah, I practiced the dark arts for years. I stopped doing it now. But he said, yeah, we used to do all that stuff and more. We used to impact people's minds. We would affect their energies. We would do stuff with them. And yeah, it would work. We'd shut churches down by doing that, by distracting the workers, by getting them to become passive, getting them caught up with, you know, sensual pleasures, whatever we had to do to break down the effectiveness of the work. That's one of the things that he told me. So there's the capabilities of these guys is extraordinary. They were telling us as well, I mean, some of the best dark art sorcerers can shapeshift. They can turn into birds, they can turn into things, they can teleport cars through portals, everything like that. So the really best ones can do stuff that would blow your mind. You know, they have extraordinary powers. They can levitate, they can fly, they can, yeah, teleport, they can do all kinds of stuff because they've learned some of these things. I was speaking to someone the other day who told me her son learned from someone who does a bit of the dark arts, and he was able to levitate very quickly, you know. So, so the question is about overcoming the dark arts in our own life and in our society. So it's very, very real, as I've mentioned to you. And the main thing is to know it's real, own the fact that it's real. And when you do that, that kind of inner fear, and you learn to become comfortable at facing it. And at the end of the day, they have no power over us because perfect love casts out all fear if we truly own it. One of my journeys the last 7 months has been to actually go into my shadows like never before, to own every dark spot about myself and actually own it. Or anything which I'm remotely charged about, just to absolutely own it. And I've been going into some of the deepest shadows, and it was painful, but at the same time, now it's been life transforming, you know, for example, and just various kind of things. There's so many areas which are used. These guys have extraordinary capabilities and extraordinary powers to basically do stuff, to basically people's energies and manipulate it. And keep in mind that the dark art sorcerers are working all the time over the energies of a city. They work over the energies of key individuals. They're very strategic and very focused. The more your work increases and you become more effective and you become more of a threat, the more powerful dark art sorcerers get assigned to you. And I can remember I noticed that the more my work increased, the more they'd get assigned. And it took me a lot of work to really learn to understand how to deal and come against these guys and deal with these sorcerers and sorceresses, and just could see when they were working. Even the last few days, I can remember thinking to myself, okay, what led me to talk on this topic? I thought, I can definitely feel there's something going on. And it became more and more stronger, and I thought, they're increasing their work right now in their sacrifices. So I contacted William and Grace, and both said the same thing. Yeah, we feel that. So, but okay. So what this tells me, it's a good time to really be facing our shadows, doing our regular clearing, and keeping ourselves energetically clean. That is why, like Sharon said, for example, how she works regularly with William. I know a few of you do. I work with him. I pay him to do that stuff. We're looking at Awakening Within at creating a lot more of a systematic clearing protocols which people can join and become part of, because right now is the time to learn to protect and keep yourself clean if you're going to be moving through these times and not being affected by what's coming. So they're trained in the dark arts very specifically, and I can even remember, out of curiosity, reading a book that was loaned to me. by a friend about a guy who taught dark arts. And one of the things he talked about was how, for example, to give someone a migraine who was causing you problems, and the way you would do it. And he said you would tune in, and he would imagine putting a drill into the back of the guy's head, and if the person was susceptible to it, they start getting a migraine. There's also very good CIA psychic assassins who can do it. Who can actually put the thought into people with car accidents. So what they do is they project thoughts into people. Now, keep in mind what the book of Proverbs says in the Bible. The book of Proverbs says, an undeserved curse shall never come to rest. In other words, an undeserved curse shall never come to rest. And a curse is just really a reverse thought form. It's like a negative thought form which goes into you. And we often curse people without even meaning, to do so. So we often curse people without actually genuinely meaning to do so whatsoever. So, like, let's say that you're thinking, oh man, I wish my ex would lose all her money. I hate her. She's horrible. And you have that kind of thing without realizing it, you could be cursing them. So you've got to be careful with that. My experience is most curses, about 95% of them are unintended. 5% of, like, in other words, they're more coming from someone who's ignorant. 5% are genuinely intended. They know what they're doing. So a fluttering, like it says here, like a fluttering sparrow or a darting swallow, an undeserved curse will not land on its intended victim. So King James Bible says, as a bird by wandering, as a swallow by flying, a curse that is curseless, a curse that is causeless shall not come. So rest assured, the scriptures are saying that there's no possible way that a deserved curse can come to rest and affect you. However, for obvious reason, if you do get one of those comes your way, a curse which like that, then absolutely, then it can basically affect you, so to speak. So that's the way to understand this. So generally, the first question I ask myself is if I feel there's a curse or hex or spell on me, and William will tell you this, and here's a practical clue. Yes, I clear it, but the first thing I do is say, okay, so where was the loophole that allowed the curse to enter me? Because they can only access you by loopholes. Dr. Rebecca Brown shares about this in her She Came to Set the Captives Free, as did a guy who taught me, who knew one of the top warlocks in Australia. He said when dark art sorcerers are looking to attack someone of particular significance, they will scan their auric body and their etheric field, and they will look for holes. Like, do they have an ego issue? Do they have an issue around sex? Do they have an issue around money? Do they have an issue of disempowerment? Is one of their chakras weaker than the other? Do they have wounding or trauma in their heart? Do they have sexual abuse? I mean, do they have whatever? And once they find their various ways, they devise a strategy to deal with it. Most people are very easily dealt with by just energetic etheric attacks because they're not aware. When they occasionally encounter people who are very awake to the shamanic arts, and they're very awake to how they attack, they have to come in different ways. They start coming more in deception. They'll start coming at you more in terms of getting you criticized or butthurt, to get you wounded and traumatized into ego. If that doesn't work and you really genuinely don't give a shit about what people think, then they'll go to next levels and try and shame and humiliate you, with some of your deeper shadows. Like, let's say, for example, that, you have a real deep fear about the fact that, that you basically once had sex with someone who was 19 when you were 14, you were married, and you did it like it was like an affair. They will be able to use that against you, attack your mind, bring out stuff or whatever else, possibly bring it out into the media and open the door for it to come out and things like that. So there's various ways in which they work. That's how they by and large control society. Most of the politicians, as many of you know, they get dirt on them, and they know how to control their etheric bodies. And once they got to a certain level, do that. And then once they realize they cannot touch you at all, they generally will try other ways, that they'll try and deceive you. And the book of Nehemiah in the Bible gives you a good example of how dark arts work, the first 6 chapters. then they try and trick you out of your secure places. They try to put fear in you, but something bad is going to happen to you, even though it's not. And then that will trick you out of your high place. You come out in terror, try to deal with it, and then they've got you in that realm. So that's another way. They try and trick you out, or they offer you something that financially is going to do well and make you think, oh, yeah, no, this is going to be for good, even though it's for personal gain. There's many, many ways they can do it. So understand that these dark art sorcerers are very precise, very strategic, and they know what they're doing. So it's 3 a.m. in the morning. Now, just give me a sec. I'll be back in 30 seconds. I have to go to the bathroom. Okay, so is everyone following so far and enjoying this? Just a bit of feedback. This next part gets quite interesting and quite, yeah. Okay, good. So far, okay. So far, so good. Now, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Some of you would have heard how dark art sorcerers do negative energy work at 3 a.m. in the morning, and they really try and manipulate people's stuff. And they do, you know, human sacrifices, they do torture rituals, they do all kinds of things to manipulate it. So why do they choose 3 a.m. in the morning? There's a few reasons for it, really. I mean, one thing, of course, is it's when people are asleep. And generally, when you're in sleep, you're either in a delta state or you're in a REM state in your brain, which means in hypnosis, the best time to hypnotize you is when you're in a deep delta or REM state. So that's the best time to hypnotize you, because when they can get you into a delta or REM brain state, you're very easy programmed. In occultic mind control programming, they get people into a traumatized state. And there was a lady who wrote a book about, about the memories, about saving the memories. And she was a lady who was a victim of occult traumatized mind control. And she said they would do that. They would do things like throw water, they'd traumatize her. And then in that moment, they put a suggestion to her or ring a bell as they were doing it. So then what would happen is that every time they'd ring this bell, subconsciously, she wouldn't know why. She would just run and do whatever they told her, or she wanted to go down to the occult lodge or whatever else. So it's very effective. In any kind of programming, subliminal programming is to get your brain into a delta. And you can do that either by hypnosis, by meditation, deep breathing, or just by going into extreme trauma when things stop. The other thing too is 3 a.m. in the morning. It's a very critical time for the energies where they're the most quiet, the most easy manipulatable. Portals start opening around 3, 4 o'clock. Also in Chinese medicine, it's the meridian time of the body. So 1 to 3 is the liver meridian, and 3 to 5 is the heart meridian. So 2 very important meridians to actually, affect you. So generally your lung is 3 to 5 in the morning, which is about the heart, grief, sadness, trauma, and the liver is about anger, life purpose, and that. So if you're waking up a lot between 1 and 3, that means your liver meridian's got stuff coming up, going on, being manipulated with. If you're waking up a lot between 3 and 5, that normally means you're sensitive to energies. If it keeps happening a lot, it generally means that your lung or heart meridian's being affected, but your lung meridian by and large. So I know when that's happening, there's various things you can do, like 1 and 3 a lot. I'll often go and get lemon juice, put it in some water and drink that, or get some milk thistle supplement. That helps me as well. 3 to 5 in the morning, doing stuff to release mucus, doing like nasal saline flushes and things like that can really help. But yes, between 3 and 5 in the morning is when they're most accurate, because it's a good time for them to manipulate the lung meridian around the liver and stuff like that, because that's where people generally have trauma, they have unresolved grief and things like that. Who finds that really interesting? Who didn't know that about the lung meridian and the liver meridian? Because the Chinese medicine is 12 meridians and there's 2-hour blocks over 24 hours. So I generally can know if something like the other week, I kept waking up, but I just couldn't go to bed before 11 o'clock at night. So I knew my pericardium, my sex was out of balance, for example, which was my 9 to 11 at night. 11 till 1 in the morning is gallbladder. So I found when I was waking up a lot around then, that meant my gallbladder was out. So yeah, it's very interesting. And they know all this stuff, by the way. They know it. They will go as far as, and if your body is open to it and you don't know how to protect yourself, they've been known to put injections, energetic, astral injections into women, especially while they're sleeping around those times. So they move into the etheric body, send in warlocks or portals, and they do stuff like that. Now, again, if you know how to protect yourself, they can't come near you. But remember what Alberto Villoldo said, just don't underestimate the power of what these guys can do. So they also use sacred geometry ley lines against you. So once they know there's certain key ley lines, they will actually go and often do blood sacrifices in that exact spot to manipulate the energies around that region. The sacred geometry is especially powerful. In fact, Henry Ford discovered this years ago, that what they were actually doing, and Grace, you would remember Daniel from New Zealand, he was the one who first taught me this. He said Henry Ford discovered they were using sacred geometry and occultic codes to actually manipulate people's minds and energies. And what they were doing was they put these codes and these symbols in food products, on signs on the roads, so subconsciously get programmed. And when you get aware of this, it's amazing. You will see these occultic signs everywhere you go. You'll see them on food products, on just about everything. And Henry Ford was exposing it quite heavily. So this way they can do that. I remember years ago working with a healer who knew about this, and she actually tested me against all the codes they commonly use to manipulate, and one of them came up really strong. And she goes, I won't tell you what this is used to do. And she worked on me with it until she cleared it from me, and she said, this is about guilt. And guilt was a big, big thing, you know. In terms of how they know who they should go after, which Irina asked, look, generally they're very sensitive. Every church, every major movement that's doing anything good will generally have people keeping an eye on you and seeing how much of a threat you are and finding a way to get in and to in. And I know very much that the bigger our work gets and the more we impact people, the more we become vulnerable. So I also, you know, have to ask, I'm very careful to ask myself, where do I have permission to really grow? Where do I need to pull back? And even recently, I was given a message, for example. I was told to go much bigger in business, much bigger. And they said, you'll be protected, you won't be touched, your business will get bigger and bigger. But I was clearly, because that's where you're going to reach the most people, but I was clearly told your spiritual work, you need to go more into the background for now, which surprised me at the time, but I trusted it and it's turned out to right, because I said that right now, in terms of where society's at, it's the best thing you could do right now with City Awakening, everything, is go more into the background and be okay with that. And just take a more simpler approach and just work with those who are really serious about doing the work. And that was the message I was given. So you've got to listen to those messages at times like this. So they will use that, you know, sacred geometry and ley lines against you. They especially love high places and create these sacrificial groves and things, and altars and things like that in high places. And these are spoken about in the Bible in the Book of Kings, where they do all kinds of ridiculously awful stuff, which is just extraordinary. They can get away. In terms of examples with food packaging, they're everywhere, Irina. I can't think of anything specifically, but just about any of the major ones, you'll see them on, you know. Disney, you see them. Certain churches, yeah, certain Disney movies, they're in there everywhere, you know. They're just everywhere. I remember going through Fremantle, and I can't believe that on Fremantle, West Australia, if you go look at the Fremantle Council's logo now, it's this logo, this demon-looking Neptune figure who sits there with a big pitchfork, you know. There's just stuff like that. There's lots and lots of that kind of stuff that goes on. So there's lots of these symbols. sex and money are two of the strongest forces that drive us. So if you've got shadows in those areas, they will really use these against you. So if you've got shadows in the areas of sex and money, oh my gosh, they will have a field day with you. Money, there's three main things they talk about, for like the 3 G's: gold, glory, girls. That's for men, they say, and that's really for anyone. You know, gold, glory, and girls, or you know, obviously the other way around: gold, glory, and and guys if you're a girl. But there's 3 main things that can trip you up. In other words, money, power, or sex. And generally, all of us have a vulnerability to at least one of them, and potentially all of them. So for example, when it comes to sex and economic, so sex, what's called shadows, and this is the funny thing. I used to believe that, for example, some of the old religious kind of myths around this. Oh no, if you have sex outside marriage, then this could do this to you. I more learned, the more as time has gone on, and I've studied and learnt and myself, the worst thing you can do with sex is excess of it, or suppressing it too much. These are the things, or basically, like for example, if you're having sex with someone in a marriage relationship where you absolutely don't want to be with them anymore, you've lost interest in them, you secretly wish you were with someone else and you desire them, but you're not being truthful with it, that will open you up 100 times more than as someone who's openly truthful. They're separated from their partner, they've been very upfront with them, and they're basically having sex with someone else they have a real connection with. That person will be in a better position than the first one, because the second person is at least being truthful to who they are. The Gnostics always understood the scriptures and the Tao as talking about the esoteric natures of these scriptures. They'd look at the esoteric deeper meaning. So if even in the Christian scriptures, which has been the strongest religion teaching about sex against marriage, the whole Old Testament is full of men who had multiple women, and probably women who had multiple men in certain parts, but just wasn't mentioned in there. So it's very, very common in the Old Testament, for example. Even it talks about an escort and women who did that kind of work, and never talks about it in a condemning sense. So generally, just all this kind of stuff is more what's called Victorian morality era labels that have come in to control society and control people. If you can control people and limit their sexual energy, as Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich shows, you can affect their ability to create, you can affect their ability to create wealth, you can affect their ability and things like that. In the Western world, we have so many sex shadows, it's not funny. You have, at one stage, it was one extreme where we almost had this, no sex outside marriage, and, you couldn't get divorced without going through all kinds of difficult court proceedings, to where now we've got the opposite. We're pretty much just anyone and everyone has sex with anyone and everyone, with almost no sense of any sacredness to it anymore. Whereas the answer in the tantric sense was to always have what's called a very a balanced approach to sex in the tantric approach, for example, and realizing the importance of the heart and sexual chakra connection. So again, if these can be manipulated and these can be knocked out of whack, it will affect you economically, it will affect you in your relationship. You may end up with a partner that, for example, that you don't really have that connection with, you're not being truthful in that area. So I cannot emphasize enough that if you're going to be mastering the dark arts in your life, you've got to become pretty darn okay in this area with your truth. And I emphasize your own truth on this one. So when it comes to economics, for example, having the balance between giving and receiving. The more money you make, it's important that you give back a lot. If you don't, you will lose it, or the tax office will take it, or something like that. So I love making lots of money. I can buy camper trailers like we have. You can go on trips. You can do things you enjoy doing. But at the same time, it's very important when you're making lots of money to be using that money for good and finding ways to share it, finding ways to improve your society, giving it to others every now and again, and being generous, for example, sharing the wealth as you make it. Equally with sex and with any kind of thing, and sexual energy can be in various forms. The reason people get into heavy porn is because they're repressing it. Sex can be shown in terms of more creativity in your workplace, in your business. You can start making more money. In many of the Indian yogi traditions, although they didn't teach sex you know, outside of marriage was wrong. They just said you're better off to have sex within a kind of committed connection for your yogic training. That's what they teach their disciples and things like that. So it all comes down to coming down to a truth and coming down to what really works for you. So they use the Bible and sacred scriptures against people. They know how to do that. The King James Bible is heavily used in the Freemasons Lodge and by the Satanists. I know this, and everything I'm saying here, I've tested, I've verified, I've met people in the occult, I've met Freemasons who are high up who've opened up to me, and they control the courts, the police force, and other layers of government. They basically do. They're run now by secret societies well and truly, and they do it through energy manipulation. You just have to go down to Fremantle and look at the War Memorial in the highest place, and the occultic symbols that are everywhere there. You go to all the highest places in any major city, you'll find altars and occultic symbols there. At the high levels of the Freemasons, they're taught to master business, they're taught manifestation secrets and wealth creation. So isn't it interesting? But money is not really taught much in the schools, but yet in the Masonic Lodge, you'll get taught around, I can't remember the level, I think it's around the 30th degree. You'll get taught about business, taking control, and using sexual energy. And that's why at these levels, they use sexual energy. That's why a lot of occultic satanic rituals, you know, when they do their sacrifices, it will involve sex with a temple priestess, because they know the power of sex and the sexual energy. I was actually explaining to one of my friends the other day that they've actually proven this, and this is so funny, but it's so true. If you're basically as a man, and of course women have different things again, but just to give examples of men who are around a lot of women who have a very like feminine sensitive connection with them, or sit there and listen to their problems a lot, their testosterone drops significantly. Men, for example, who have a lot of naked women who are random and things like that, their testosterone goes up. So the presence of a man being in a naked woman or having sort of sex with someone exciting increases their testosterone. Whereas living in the same house as someone, listening to problems all day, having emotional connected stuff, basically drops their testosterone. Now, I'm not saying men should never go and do that. I'm just saying that men, it's very important for men to get that kind of balance and find ways to do that. And if they're in a marriage relationship, for example, to make sure they have a partner who can play both sides, you know, who can be very connected with them, then play that thing, and vice versa, by the way. Women have similar needs as well, where in this kind of area just as much as men. And as William said, sexual energy is the most powerful energy in the light universe. Napoleon Hill talks about that. In Black Witchcraft, one of the first things they teach you, I actually found a book on Black Witchcraft and Sorcery and had a bit of a read of it. And it was messing with my head, I will admit, but I pushed through it just to get a bit of an idea. And they talked about that, sexual energy, the importance of sex in using energies. When I read the high places, rituals and scriptures. So the biggest mistake that many of the churches then make, which of course is exactly what the dark arts wants, to go, oh yeah, no, so you just got to stop sex, you got to master that, you got to push that out of your life. Yes, you got to control it, you got to have mastery over it, but at the same time you can use that energy as well. And that is why Tantra, properly done, can be so powerful. So to master business and master your financial realm, for example, you have to get really good control and mastery in your sexual energy. And if you're blocked up in that area, and as Master Raymond Grace says, who many of you have heard of, Raymond Grace says he notices, especially with women, women are very blocked up in their sexual chakras of what's been taught in a more patriarchal society, and things like that. So these are all things when you're starting to deal with clearing the dark arts. I'm going into stuff that I haven't really gone into in webinars with you before to actually help you to actually start to see a new perspective. And there's so much more to this. But as I mentioned, they even have psychic assassins in the CIA to cause accidents, curses, hexes, and spells on people as well. So any unresolved shadows that you have will be used against you. That's really important. So what does that mean? That you run around living in fear thinking, oh my God, they're after me? No. It's just realizing that when stuff comes up to deal with, you just go, okay, I'm going to deal with it. The worst thing you can do is try and deal with stuff you're not ready to deal with, because that opens you up. That's why the best way to live in, to do that is just to enjoy your life, have lots of fun, and when something comes up to be dealt with, you just allow it to be dealt with. You don't resist it, you own it. I've noticed the last 3 months I've had to own some of my deepest shadows that I've really struggled all my life to own. I've noticed that, of course, with Sammy's passing and having to face various layers of my soul and my unconscious and my fears. And one of the things I realized, for example, I'm going to share this, like I had quite a bit of shame deep down unresolved in my sexual area. And it all came back to growing up in a fairly strong church, you know, and which by and large, let me emphasize, I'm very grateful to my church. They taught me a lot of good stuff. And by and large, I don't have the slightest regrets. But I also realize now the restriction of a lot of my church's teaching, you know. And so with one of the things I was taught, for example, was, you know, no sex outside of marriage, masturbation was wrong, going to escorts is like shows you've got problems. You know, there's a whole lot of stuff I was taught and things like that. And when I first started trying to do
Hey everyone, it looks like Warren's come offline.
Do you know what happened?
I'm not sure. Edward, if you're there, what's happened to Warren's internet? Whoa. No. Can you say it again? Can you speak again? Well, you are talking about dark masters here, Warren. No, can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, excellent.
You hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's so weird. Yeah, talking about time. That was amazing.
Obviously, this message, it doesn't want to be shared out there.
No.
Isn't it?
Oh, well, means we're on the right track, which is cool.
Absolutely.
No complaints about that one.
Not at all.
Okay, well, let's continue. That's awesome. Well, I always like it when that kind of stuff happens. I'm like, okay, we're doing something right. So again, deliberately creating trauma to mind control. And again, I emphasize it. I mean, the danger with this is that you can then go to the other extreme and you run around and everything you see. And look, I fell into that extreme for a while, and you see a demon behind every lamppost and an occultic symbol. This is more just about awareness, okay? And a lot of the time when things come up in you, it may be nothing to do with dark energies. It can sometimes just be you're having a bad day, or you're tired because you ate too much, or you were out late at night. You know, these things do happen. But if by and large there's no reason, like this happened the other day, I was eating well, I'd been sleeping well, I was feeling really overall really great. I was very happy with my life and my choices, and yet I just felt grief and I felt heavy for no reason. Eventually I thought, now I'm picking something up. And then I realized I was picking up dark energies and psychic attacks that were happening in the background and things like that. So things like that. So yeah, it's just noticing that kind of stuff. And one of the things I learned from a very good psychotherapist is you kind of do a process of elimination. Like, let's say you just suddenly feel anger for no reason. Like this morning, I felt that, just anger, real rage for no reason. I'm like, okay, am I angry about anything? I thought, not really. I'm overall pretty fine with things. I thought, is it maybe old stuff? And I kind of did an inner test. I thought, doesn't feel that. I thought, is there some kind of witchcraft or black magic or dark arts to do with today's message affecting people? And I got, yeah, that feels right. So I thought, okay, let's just observe that, do a bit of a clearing. William helped me clear a little bit of it and things like that. So they know how the people's energy and the mass consciousness impacts you. Why do you think they're so big on hitting the social media and the news and the TV? Because they know that what keeps hitting your brain and your imagery in your mind and through your eyes. You know, in the book of Job, he talks about taking control of what he sees so that he won't sin against the Lord. And it's basically what he's talking about is controlling what comes into his eyes, you know, and being awareness of what's coming in and things like that. That is why so much negativity comes flying in through the media, through the social media. That's why they brainwash people around fear, around COVID, and God, it works so well, and about this and about everything like that. So if the more negative and people out, and if everyone's starting to believe it's going to be a great reset and it's going to ruin their lives and things like that, they know that will bring it in place. And the biggest, and look, at the end of the day, our economic system practically does need some kind of a reset. There's no question about that. I can tell you this from an economics perspective. But if they brainwash the fear enough into people, the reset could happen in a very traumatic, chaotic way that opens up the door for a new world order, for example. So a lot of it is just a programming preparation of people. And that is why really the sanctuary that I know for years we've talked about, when it talks about Noah's Ark, it's just coming into that new state of consciousness where you don't become part of that and take the practical steps as well as the energetic steps. So for me, I'm wrong in my mind and in my thinking. I see myself in a Noah's Ark and a sanctuary. And it's not a case of me disappearing and leaving this earth and being there, and that may well happen at some stage. I've realized more and more it's still being on this earth, being in my physical body, living in a physical city, but being in a different state of consciousness and a different timeline. And I don't know if anyone can feel it, but the energy is even shifting heavily as I'm saying this. You know, I can feel a massive shift in energy. I'm like, wow. But the Noah's Ark that we're actually seeing and we're coming into, it's entirely a new way of consciousness, a new way of being, and a new way of energetically centering yourself and actually seeing yourself in a whole new world order. And even if you're like in your own order, in your new higher, in your like vibrational order, in your whole new world in your thinking. And that's how I'm seeing it. So regardless of what happens in the world around me, and some of you know, but I've been saying for years of Australia, I just know that where we live in West Australia, we're fine. And Grace has said that. I just see it as a sanctuary. I see that whatever happens there, we're living in a sanctuary. Even if WA gets hit in some degree in Perth, we'll be somewhere up north. In some way, we just know we're going to be fine. And it was so interesting to read in the media this week that they're talking about gas prices and energy shortages that are going to happen across the globe, and especially the east coast of Australia. They're predicting gas prices have gone up 10 times because of shortages and exports. And what was interesting was, I don't know if Grace and Christine, you saw this, but they were saying that the one exception was Western Australia, because they said their government for years has chosen to keep aside a lot of their gas for domestic use. So WA has an abundance of gas and an abundance economically right now, and WA is well prepared for what lies ahead with any kind of gas shortages. It's the one state right now, and that's why the other states are so jealous and angry, because WA is economically very well set up right now, and gas-wise is the one state that really has got very little risk of any major shortages. Now, I can tell you now, and without any shadow of a doubt, that what we've been speaking and what we've been saying about the whole thing has been a big factor behind that, you know? And so the people's energy and the mass consciousness can impact you heavily, and you start to believe that this is what's going to happen here, and therefore you'll create that reality for yourself in your state. So it's really important to win this war on consciousness. This is where it starts. When you're dealing against dark arts, to learn to win in your own thinking. Learn to get first mastery over your own city, because if you get mastery over your own city, you will win wherever you are. You could be in the worst New World Order city of Melbourne and be the one person that's okay. By contrast, if your consciousness has been impacted and controlled by dark arts, you could run away to Mexico, to the safest place, and somehow end up in prison on a trumped up charge for no good reason. Because all imprisonment and all things like that happen first upon the inward shifting and consciousness. And they know this. They really do know this. Who's finding this really interesting, by the way? And who's getting what I'm saying about the Noah's Ark thinking and consciousness that we can move into? Everyone, quite a few of you. Awesome, that's great. Okay, so the fact is, everything is energy, as we've learned, everything. And as Raymond Gray said, everything is energy, and energy can be transformed. So that is the secret to mastering the dark arts, that you can transform the energy. But you can't transform something if you're not aware and don't have clear intention. To do love and light meditations, sitting on Uluru, smiling, staring at the sky, and doing nothing else is going to make you feel good for a short period, but it's intention that transforms energies. We saw last year even lockdowns being averted and stopped, and mask mandates, by doing this kind of work, you know, and we saw it over and over and over and over again. We can transform the energy of our life and our society. And when you become aware of dark heart energies, and generally you can start, as the more you get accustomed to it, you can often hear and even feel the thoughts coming into your mind, and you know where it's coming from. And I had to deal with a major dark arts attack probably about a month ago, when I was starting to deal with some of my deepest, darkest shadows. And I was finding it a bit overwhelming and a bit overpowering. And in the end, I got some good counseling to help me, and ended up going on some homeopathy to clear up the old energies in that from me. So everything is energy, and energy can be transformed. So this is why you want to stay energetically clean at all times, especially in this current world right now. And think of it like taking a bath. It's something that you do constantly, not just on a once-off basis. So you don't just go and take a great Thailand spa bath and think, oh, that's amazing, you know, I'll never have to go on another bath again. Imagine if you said that. I mean, within about a few weeks, you would smell pretty damn bad. And yet that's how dumb we are when it comes to a spiritual walk. Oh, no, man, I don't believe in the dark arts. I think it's crap. You know, that can't affect me. That can't touch me. Yeah, no, look, I went to a dark arts. I went to a shamanic retreat a month ago in Noosa in the Sunshine Coast, and amazing healing. I'm fine now. I'm okay. Yeah, it changed my life. I've had a breakthrough. I'll never go back to the old way again. And if someone said that to you, you'd know that they're basically a bit of an idiot. But many people do that. So it's all about doing stuff like that, but also staying clean. I'd much rather someone who's regularly cleaning their energy up, doing work on it, than someone who does it once in a while is always going to succeed. You look at anyone who's successful in business, in the world affairs, they all have their shamans, they're all doing regular shamanic stuff, and they've got people doing that kind of work for them, and they're staying focused and showing up in what they're meant to be showing up in. So it's something that you want to do regularly, doing regular clearing and getting help. If you know how to do it yourself, that's great. If you don't, you get someone to do it. And even if you can do it, that's why joining a community like this or something where you're getting that done, even getting, you know, working with someone like William or part of a shamanic group. I mean, that's why I still do that. It's still why I still tie to spiritual teachers, even to this day, to keep myself energetically clean. I've got a couple that I do that with. That's how much I regard this. I know that the work which I'm doing is quite a big work. If I get knocked out of commission, it will have a major impact upon many people, because many people do look up to me now. And that's part of the responsibility of the work I've chosen to take on. That's something I used to be scared of responsibility before, whereas now I've just accepted it. That when you're doing a work like this and you're running a business with worldwide impact, everyone's watching what you're doing. So the ethics and integrity of our business is important. For me, it's more important that I be truthful about my way of life rather than, you know, necessarily living some kind of Victorian era moralistically clean. I mean, many of you know, I've been very open about the fact, you know, I've had everything from being celibate to being in a stable marriage to seeing escorts to being in a relationship with someone like Sammy. I don't have any problem saying any of that. I've done all that stuff. And it's basically the most important thing if you're going to be dealing with dark arts is living a truthful life within yourself. That's the one thing they find very hard to do much with, so to speak. So how do you stay energetically protected? The Christ, I mean, one is obviously staying very true to yourself and being very congruent with your truth. I love the Christ consciousness and mystical secrets, which I've learned and studied over the years in the church, in shamanic schools. I mean, various healers I've worked with, and I've found certain key protocols that work pretty much all of them do. Just about everyone does at various levels to stay protected energetically. So staying balanced is really important. To me, a bit like if I want to grow a successful business, I'm going to consistently have an accountability, whether it's a business coach, and we do have a business coach for all the companies I'm involved with, but also a good accountability board. Equally, if you're serious about your physical health, it's good to have accountability with that. I've got a homeopath, I've got a GP I see occasionally, I've got a chiro I see, and I also have, you know, a kinesiologist. I do regular kind of fasting and eating, and I eat really well and keep myself in good shape physically. I do regular Pilates, I've started dance classes now, I do lots of stuff to keep my body fluid and in good state. Equally, etherically, you want to be doing regular stuff, whether it's I do regular homeopathy as well as etheric clearing and shamanic work to keep my etheric and auric body really strong. The other day I went to my homeopath, and in fact he said, God, you have like the strongest chakras. Like, all my chakras are insanely strong and my aura is insanely strong. So I said, you must do really good stuff. They're just like in top shape. And that's because I do this constantly. I keep my chakras and my aura in top shape. And I do that through homeopathy. I do that through regularly doing a command clearing myself, as well as paying William and other shamanic works from time to time to keep on top of things. And I believe in the principle of the tithe, in paying your shamans to do clearings on you. That's very important. It's the fair exchange. So we will do this. We will stay balanced, check our polarity, align with the universal energy field. The the golden vortex comes up in all kinds of teachings and shamanic work, ancient Egyptian stuff. It comes up in the Earth's Energies book by Adrian Clark. For some reason, a golden vortex spinning around is a very good energy cleanser. And that's why when tornadoes are happening in an area, those areas normally have got energetic imbalances that the tornado comes to address. That is why in Russia, for example, when they actually experimented by putting beautiful pyramids all over an area to balance the energies, which had a lot of tornadoes, within 10 years, the number of tornadoes dropped exponentially. It's incredible to see the study. So the number of tornadoes dropped exponentially once they actually used pyramids to balance the energy. So vortex is really good. So I imagine a golden vortex spinning around and doing a big cleansing upon myself. If I'm doing it on a city or on a group, like right now, I'm just imagining a vortex around the whole group, just going like at the speed of light and going clockwise. I also sometimes use a bobber, sometimes I don't. I won't use one right now, just so it can do it all with energy. So it's going around and around and around and around and around, and just getting a feel for this vortex, spinning out all energies which don't in any way align. I'm also going to do a quick anti-clockwise spin of the vortex just to scramble and remove any negative interferences or frequencies, and then go back to spinning clockwise. And important to continue to breathe slowly when you're doing this thing, because what this does, this just helps to balance and calm your system and cleanse out the energies. We then project a white crystalline pyramid around ourselves, or if there's a city or region being clear, so right now just around the group. So I'm imagining two pyramids, one over me, and I'm imagining one over the group separately. And all that, and if you're tuning in, you'll be feeling the energy shifting. I often like to project a shimmering shield and circle of angels all around the group, being present with us today, which they are. And then I always call in the 5 archangels, and then every now and again I get led to bring in others. So today I'm just going to ask for Uriel up the north, Michael at the south, Raphael in the east, and Gabriel in the west, and Metatron from above with the Order of Enoch. I don't feel to bring any of the others right now, apart from the Holy Spirit and the Christ consciousness. And then we just command only those aligned with the Word of God and Christ consciousness to come in, and all false spirit guides not aligned with the order of Melchizedek, the order of Enoch, and office of Christ to live now, and the blood of Christ to release any unresolved karma and bind up sorcerers, dark art sorcerers, human spirits, or warlocks here within the group, causing anything, take them to realms justly earned now. I don't know if anyone could feel that, but there's a big shift of energy. So just type in the chat if you're noticing the rising of the energy the more we're doing this like work over the last 5 minutes. Just see if you're noticing it. Yeah, Miko's feeling it. Yep, it's rising quite a lot. Yep, so that's having deliciousness. 12, Miko. Oh, yeah, wow. So before we started, for example, I'm getting an average energy of the group was around 13,000, which is actually quite low. So I was getting around 13,000. So now let's just have a look at what we are right now. Are we? See, I'm getting, for example, right now, William, you can check as well, and Christine, I'm getting that we're now 160,000 as an average energy for the group, which is a big jump, you know, and Raymond says a good energy to get to right now is, well over 200,000. Ideally, you can even get as high as 500,000 with good clearing as an individual. So the energy is up to now 160,000. So it's definitely an improvement. I like to get William's getting 170,000. Yep. So sense of where you're at. These are the ones that Raymond used to give for a city's vibration. So slightly different for the individual. The individual, it's easier to get a lot higher, a lot quicker. So energy is definitely gone up, and we can get it up even more. So let's just clear the impact of all Schumann resonance 5G and electromagnetic frequencies and just neutralize them and transform them into the energy of prosperity and the energy of light and harmony within the group and within within the grids where we're at right now. And as I'm doing that, we're now over 200,000. So we're getting around 220,000. So that one thing alone is increasing us up to 220,000. So yeah, that's a good energy to be now, 220,000. So let's see what else shows up. So let's just clear all negative entities, energetic patterns, thought forms, and emotions within the mind and the body. Yeah, it has a huge impact on you, Irene. It has a huge impact on me too. That's why I've got to work on EMFs. EMFs are an absolute horror. They really are. They affect people so much more than they realize. Let's just clear this out and transform this into a greater, more higher frequency mindset and way of thinking. So again, it's now up 260,000. Let's call all soul fragments back into this dimension for each person on this webinar. Ground them in the physical body. And by our intention, let's send back any soul fragments to others that we're able to do so right now, which belongs to them. So just all of you say in your heart, I send back any soul fragments I have of others, which does not belong to me. I give back to them what is theirs, and I take back what is mine. You can feel that there's a huge flood. I'm sure, William, you can see that. Okay, that's incredible. I'm reading the energy of the group, and it's now over 500,000. So this is a big one. People have got all kinds of soul fragments from trauma, soul connections, sexual connections of people, unresolved, broken hearts, or just connections of people. But yeah, it's over 500,000 now I'm getting. It's a big jump. I'm actually getting it's around 570,000 now. So William or Christine, if you're noticing anything. Now let's just clear any curses, hexes, spells, demons, entities, mind control implants, which we can are the highest priority, that have been implanted into people right now, which no longer serve them and which they're ready to clear today, to give people a sneak preview of what this work can do. And taking any discarnates that are ready to be cleared today, placing them into a third order escort's custody and putting them in a pale silver reflector orb and taking them to realms justly earned now. So I'll be upfront with this kind of stuff. I wanted to give a really good clearing today. Some of the deeper mind control implants and stuff like this, it's very important you invest in your spiritual work. So if you feel led to type today, to do so, but certainly investing in some kind of program. We're going to be doing an auric and mind control implants clearing a course in the next week or two, or working with William or something, or some shaman that you trust. Very important. But this is going to clear. I feel there are a lot of mind control implants, and I feel we can clear some of them today. But all of you who've really had clearings would know the importance of investing money into your clearing and into your spiritual work. So, but these mind control implants generally get implanted in over and over a period of time. Gosh, this is powerful. This is clearing some deep stuff from people. This one, I can feel some really good implants have been cleared. So if you haven't felt anything, then that's fine. If you've really felt a clearing happen to you today, I would really encourage you to either type or continue to work and do some kind of mind control, and join our RF clearing program when we mention it. That's one way you can give back and then clear the rest as well. So this is stuff that, as you know, I've never challenged much in this before. I'm getting today. It's very important to do that because I know that there's quite a lot of you here who do invest in your clearing and that. But Catherine Ponder, in her Dynamic Laws of Prosperity, emphasizes how important it is to tithe and, give to spiritual teaching, to support that work and grow that work in a society for it to prosper and for your own business to prosper. So in the laws of prosperity. So it's a very important spiritual principle. The law of the tithe is the spiritual teacher. Okay, what's it over now? Over 700? I'm getting now the energies over almost 700,000. So it's almost 700,000. Okay, so you can also do the auric clearing where you can clear the portals, wormholes, and other core spheres. Let's just clear by the laws of the golden liquid realms and the chemical powers. Any auric attachments, portals, wormholes, cords, spears, or devices which no longer serve people, which are ready to release right now. Okay, over 700,000. So I'm getting it's over 700,000 energy of the group. So now, before we get into moving into scriptures, because we've just got a final part to go, just going to briefly mention the scriptures and the Arcturian secrets about clearing, give you an introduction to them, and before we do it and be finished in 10 minutes, anyone just mention in the chat what you noticed. William and Christine, just tell me what energy you got for the group, things like that. Deb sensed an opening of the heart, releasing of pressure from the back of the head. That's awesome, Deb. Thank you. Anyone else?
I felt a lot of witchcraft and evil being cleared.
Oh, yeah. Was there ever? I was a little bit shocked how much there was, to be honest.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. But now there's like a shining light.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah, it kind of feels more normal than it's been for a while.
Yeah.
Yep, Christine, 730K. Yep, Irene, a back of neck is sore. Anyone else got any comments? Or has everyone else not felt much? Miko feels lighter for sure. It's awesome. Suzanne smiling inside and out. Sun is shining big. I'm feeling, but I am vibrating at a higher frequency and so much calmer. That's a pretty good way of summarizing it, because there's been a huge shift. And yet, Sharon, frequency is going higher. Yeah, look, I really feel in West Australia now, we're going to be able, especially, but in Australia, it starts with your own life. We're going to start to be able to get some greater shifts now. And that was what the I Ching said. We're actually, as strange as it sounds, we're in a turning point. We're in a point where we can start to see some ground being taken back. That's what I've been getting. And we just have to move systematically and patiently and know it can be done. That was the whole I Ching reading at the beginning, which I gave. Tasha, my liver has been hurting for the last 10 days. That's very interesting. I would suggest, you know, I don't know if you know much about milk thistle, Tasha, but milk thistle is a very good thing to support liver when that's happening and you're going through cleansings and picking up energies. You're probably waking up between 1 and 3 o'clock. So, yeah, I mean, a bit of lemon water can help, but definitely milk thistle. When I had that happen to me about 2 months ago, I got onto I started taking milk thistle supplement. So just, if that feels right for you, you've got to tune in. I'm obviously not a doctor, but, you know, you just tune in. And if that feels right for you to do it. But milk thistle is well known and very good support for liver to help it get through challenging physical as well as energetic things. Sharon was meant to be here today. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's kind of been, it's great. I'm very glad with what's happening today because I've got the strongest message. And my logic kind of was like, do I really want to do this today? And yet I kept getting a strong message to do this. So, yeah, the scriptures are another really good one. And that's why we've done a lot of that, you know, over time. We do scripture reading and we read that over our cities. The scriptures are very, 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 very good. So basically my 3 books I use a lot. I use the scriptures, I use the Tao Te Ching as well, which I don't mention here, but the Book of Enoch and the Bhagavad Gita, the Hindu kind of what I call the Hindu mini Bible, so to speak, about Krishna. So they're my books I particularly love to use, any of these ones. The Book of Enoch and even the writings of Joseph Smith, anything that's a sacred scripture, or something that you can read. There's the Pistis Sophia. There's, of course, the Gnostic prayers, which Christine and Grace and the group use a lot of as well. So there's all this kind of stuff that you can get led to, and reading sacred scriptures can be very, very powerful whatsoever. So, yeah, this is the time that I've been really getting that it's really important now for people to start stepping up. And it's great to see even in Grace's energy groups, you've got certain others stepping up to lead them now. Because this is what I was told very clearly in my download the last few weeks. And many of you would notice the last 6 to 7 months, I backed right off doing clearings and work like that. And I was clearly told to do that for 2 reasons. One was to focus on my own shadow work and go deeper. But I also was told people have to learn to value their own, you know, their cities and their lives and their energies enough, but they'll step up and take responsibility. You know, you will not get your state back and not win your country back by, you know, you, William, and a few others doing some kind of, you know, spiritual shamanic savior work. That won't do it. You know, teaching people and empowering people and serving people as much as you can, but ultimately it's the people of your state. And you don't need a large number of people. I can tell you now, but if a small number of West Australians, Victorians, New South Wales, whatever, got really serious about this work and all took their responsibility and started working and training and getting the word out, and starting to empower people shamanically, financially, health-wise, we could see a lot happen in the next few years. We really can. So that's why the first secret to mastering and overcoming the dark arts is learning to master your own city and protect your own city, because that can do wonders. The whole holographic teaching is that you change your universe, you can change the universe around you. So that's why it starts with mastering your own city. So using the scriptures is very important. That's why we like to read scriptures against the dark arts, because they do that with you. That's how they do it. They take scriptures in reverse and they do sacrifices and they incant them like spells over cities. That's why witchcraft in all the fairy stories is like these spell books. That's what they do. They get these spell books and they read while they feel the etheric soul, like 3 o'clock in the morning when everyone's asleep and they're traumatized and vulnerable, they can speak over them, can speak fear, can speak lack. That's why some days you might wake up and not know what's happening to you. I've learned the greatest secret for me is to own it, to see it, to feel it, and just go into it and then clear it. The secrets of the Arcturians, that's for another time, but we do a lot of codes. But the Arcturians is Arcturian crystals and energies that we can use as well. That can really assist. Sometimes when we're doing clearings, we feel the presence of Arcturians, and the Arcturians come to support. And it's funny, even mentioning them now, I can feel their presence. So it's like they're here right now, listening and being present with us. And they've got crystals. I can see about a group of them with crystals right now. And I'm very grateful and just humble myself. And because the Arcturians is from the Arcturians, the Pleiadians, the Andromedans, the Orion Belt, various places. The Arcturians is where a lot of the holders of the technology, like the keepers of the Grail, the crystals, the ancient crystals, and they work with Lemurians as well, who've got crystals to bring healing. The Arcturians can place new implants into you today. So I feel that some of you, you're actually getting new implants at the moment. I can see it clearly. They're putting crystals, new implants. Some of you who really have been doing the work and you have been genuinely giving back and you're ready. I'm actually seeing quite a few people being given crystals, William. I don't know if you're seeing it. I'm seeing about 3 or 4 or 5 people. There's Arcturians putting crystals into people. They're going into their heart, into their auric field, into their third eye, even quite a few places. So just type in the chat. I'll take the mic, William, if you're noticing anything. Okay, I think William's gone.
No, I just mainly see a lot of light being shined into people.
Yeah, I can see it. Can you see crystals in a few people? I can see it really clearly.
Yeah, it's like pink crystals.
Mm.
It's like pink and purple crystals.
Yeah. You see anyone in particular?
There are some green ones as well.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Yeah, Sharon's got all pink. Yeah, Miko. So
and there's light implants as well.
yeah. Yeah, wow, this is nice.
Actually, it's a light implant, which is like a book. It looks like a book.
Like a scroll, yeah.
Yeah. Not even a scroll, though. It's like a full book that I'm seeing.
Wow. A book. Do you see any particular people getting it right now?
I'm now curious. I see Grace getting it.
Yeah, she's got one.
Grace is receiving one. Huh. And I see Miko receiving one.
Yeah. I would agree. Sharon as well.
Yes. Yep.
Irena feels calmer. Yeah, they're very calming, aren't they? They're beautiful. They're putting light into everyone right now. Just some people, for some reason, they're giving crystals to. Some of you are getting green light, and yeah, putting your heart chakra. It's really amazing. In fact, there's a lot of 6, 7 chakra work being done right now. I'm seeing well.
Well, the crystals are activating the people.
Yeah, it's activating you.
It's being very activating.
Yeah, it's just helping you getting ready for the next stage of your work and just releasing and healing. It's been a war zone that everyone's been in. So I feel I just want to give people a bit of a hand today. Vic has a Vivianite crystal and a pink Lemurian crystal. I thought today, wow, Vic, that's amazing. Yeah, well, just receive what you're getting because you're certainly getting plenty at the moment. So. Yes, the Arcturians have a lot of wisdom and work they can do. Okay, make sure you send them some love, everyone. Really send them some love. The Arcturians love that sense of being appreciated. Yeah, Suzanne, a brilliant white diamond crystal above my head. Yep, just allow that. That's in your 8th chakra. Suzanne, 8th, 9th chakra. Activating higher wisdom. So really, in summary, staying clean at all times is critical, especially as this world gets darker. And Sharon's been chanting, thank you. Yeah, just keep sending them love. And keep sending them love, because seriously, you know, I mean, God, the mess we've made of our world, they don't have to do this, but they do. They really, you know, they work with us. They work with our failings, and they work with us, and they help us in the work. And send them love, you know, lots and lots of love. Thank them so much for the work they're doing right now. I just feel to really just send the Arcturians lots and lots of love and thanks. Just from your heart, just thank you. Just for the work they're doing to help this planet and to help people and help anyone who's willing to listen and open their hearts and their minds to receive their gifts and their wisdom. They're just grateful. They want to serve. They want to help people. So, yeah, just send them lots of love and thanks. Because they're a beautiful group. They really are. Yeah, they love working with Grace, they're saying to me. So, yeah, I know with Grace, a lot of her meetings, they often come, but I love working with Grace. So, but they have a message for you, Grace. They're saying they like working with you because you always listen to them. You know, you're listening to their wisdom and you listen to what they're saying to you. So, just keep doing that because, yeah. So staying clean at all times is critical, especially as this world gets darker. So that's what I would really be the summary of today, just to make a commitment and start that path today and do something and make a commitment in your day, whatever practices work for you. For me, it's doing my rituals, my clearings, going down to the beach, having a daily chat with William to, you know, which I'm paying him for, just to check, stay clean and do clearings of myself, go out in nature on the beach. And I would encourage every one of you to be part of a shamanic work or shamanic clearing protocol of some kind. So, okay, so next step from here is like just really to take some kind of action in your life in that area if you haven't already. If you already have and you're investing in shamanic work in some form and you're doing it, that's great, you know. If you're not, then I'd really encourage you to do that. And if you really did receive a powerful clearing today and you're already investing, you know, what's happening, what we're doing, I really do encourage everyone to, you know, those of you who, you know, to put a tithe or so if you're led. And these are our details. Like I said, if you're already paying and investing good money into our work for clearings, that's fine. Just take this as a gift and, you know, today, and only do that if you feel led to do it. Those who are not, but if you have genuinely received something, I would really encourage you to do that today. That's our PayPal, support at theawakeningwithin.net, and that's our bank transfer details to basically get that tithe done. It should be City Awakening, not the Awakening Within. Okay, so really now to finish off, just write down your greatest lessons. What actions will you be taking in your life? And just put down your one greatest learning and the greatest action you will take in your life in the chat. And maybe Grace, you can come on, or William, you can come on and take the mic, or come on camera with me.
Hello.
Hey, Grace. You would have felt the Arcturians, wouldn't you?
They're sweetheart.
They're so beautiful, aren't they?
Yeah. Very gentle but firm. they're actually easy to tune into, because they're very much great guides, and they're really willing to assist humanity.
They are.
Mm. Yeah, it's just today's message really, Warren, it's a great reminder of what we're dealing with, and
Yeah.
it's really good to just every now and then just touch base and come back to the foundation,
Yeah.
back to the the spiritual energy work, the transformation, because we you can easily get caught up in matter.
Yeah.
So it's a great reminder.
Mm.
I like that. Tune in and clear out, like servicing a car.
Yeah, that's good, Irina. Thank you, Suzanne. That's a lovely message. Suzanne says, I could feel the dark energies beginning to develop all over this last week and wondering how to get the message out to help. Thanks for the work today. And Warren, and behind the scenes, all who are working towards a brighter, gentler future. Now, it's a lovely message, Suzanne. That would summarize what I was noticing. It's really has been growing and growing and growing. Like the book This Present Darkness, Grace, the one where they had that blanket of darkness like building.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I was feeling.
Definitely. It's really, that's why we are called the awakened people, to wake up to really the calling, the inner calling in you. It's like, I love the what do you call those books, the Narnia books.
Yeah.
Remember the last book, The Last King? Everything was in deception. There was no truth in the land, and he was the last standing king.
Yeah.
We kind of metaphorically, when similar state in our society. It's like there's so many information out there, and you really gotta go inward and find out what is true for you, what resonates for you.
Yeah. Yeah, Sharon made a very good comment here. She said about physical exercise to shift the excess energy, Look, I agree, Sharon. I find I'm a bit like that. I get very much in my head and spiritual, and getting into beach. I go beach and bush walks. I started dance classes about 10 days ago. Best thing I ever did. Like, I've had 2 classes now. It's opened my whole chest up. I've unlocked so much blockages, which I wasn't even aware. Yeah, and I'm actually increased my workout. I was just doing 2 days a week Pilates. I'm now doing that 2 days a week circuit gym, as well as dance classes, because I really got a message that for this kind of mental work and excess energy, you've got to get more physical. So I'm doing that. So yeah, and Christine says it was a great reminder to keep being vigilant, powerful clearing, and felt the Arcturians. Yeah, absolutely, Christine. And Miko, I feel tearful with gratitude to you guys and our guardians, Arcturians. Oh, thanks, Miko. Well, yeah, that's great. Yeah, I'm very grateful to them too. So we can all serve. That's the one message I feel to do. Like we're in a new era, and I know Grace and William would agree. This next era, if we're going to see our Australia get one back, and I was given a download, we can actually mitigate, although we can't stop the full impact of the collapse. I was clearly told we can mitigate it to a degree, which means make it a bit easier, basically, for people who are willing to help themselves. We can make it easier by taking action in our life, not just in our personal life and our finances, but energetically, and really serving around you. So wherever you are, so if you've been given crystals today, like Miko, that's because the Arcturians want you to use it to serve people in some form. And it doesn't need to be big. Like, we've only got Grace, myself, William, Christine, and then 10 others here. But on the surface, it's not a lot. But if everyone here is impacted and goes away and does something with this today, it's going to have a big impact. If you start to change your perception and working on the energy, I'm noticing that when I've been moving in a higher vibration with a big smile into the world with more power, people look at me who look down and they just start to smile and laugh and start talking to me. So you really can be a light, and we really can start to shift things. And I do believe the next 3 years we can, although we've got some challenges, we can mitigate the challenges. What do you feel, Grace?
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, you know, you can't get away from that tribe. You know, the trending word is to tribal, you know, where you belong kind of thing, find your tribe. So to me, it's, again, I've been having the lesson of body, how the body works, and everybody in our bodies, there's different types of cells, the cells for liver, kidneys, so forth. So it's kind of similar to how we're drawn to one another, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I just got a scripture too, Psalm 97, you know, Psalm 91, where it says, 1,000 may fall at my side and 10,000 at my right hand, but it shall not come near me. Only with my eyes shall I see the reward of the wicked.
Yeah.
That's a really good mantra for this week. Well, Sharon, it's great. I think what you said before was really good. Sometimes you just got the best form of warfare you can do is what seems to be the simplest. And it really resonated to me when you said about getting more physical. I think you should listen to that. You know, keep giving your healing sessions. I think you're doing good work. But yeah, look, I feel listen to that. I think that sounds like wise, you know, a wise, you know, guidance from your higher self or from counsels, whoever's giving it to you. So yeah, physical is really important to stay grounded in your physical body right now. It really is. Okay, well, I think we're finished now.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you for being here, and we'll see you in the next webinar.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Bye.
Bye.